yesterday, President Joe Biden signed into law a new executive order. And for those of you who follow me here on the channel, you know there's going to be a whole lot more of this we're hearing very soon, as Democrats are going to be entering into the sprint to get things done in these last 90 days before these midterm elections, so that way before voters hit the polls, maybe they can persuade them to keep them in power. Now, I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. There's a lot hanging in the balance. Unfulfilled promises of stimulus checks, child tax credits, wiping out student loan debt, Social Security increases. In addition to that, we're expecting to find out this week what's going to be happening with the reconciliation bill. All eyes are on Kyrsten Sinema now that Senator Joe Manchin is on board. And we're going to see there is a lot hanging in the balance. And we heard it from Joe Manchin yesterday. Everything that's happening in Congress right now is dependent upon the results of those midterm elections. They want to get that win. And we'll see if the American people can benefit from it, if finally they might get some help as a result of the motivation of staying in power in Congress. We will see. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. This is your breaking news, stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, first off, wanted to mention that I checked the website this morning and over 5,000 people have signed up with their emails to get access to tons of stimulus checks across the nation. And just when I think I'm about done, last night I found 5 new programs in the state of Georgia going out for low-income individuals, for households for rental assistance, essential worker programs, and there's a ton of these all over the nation. A lot of people think that there was just the federal level checks that went out, and that is not the case. Right now, there are state, city, and county checks going out across the nation. There's nearly a dozen in California that I have. There's a ton in Georgia. There's some in Texas. We're hearing Texas has a surplus of $24 billion that they're trying to figure out what to do with, and these are popping up all the time. Just got word this morning of another one in one state for $2,000 that they're trying to push. That's right. So if you want access to this, I'm trying to assemble this. Didn't realize what the undertaking it was going to be. It's not easy to track down all this information, but I want to have it all in one easy place for you so you can get any help that's available right now. We could use all the help that we can get. So if you want access to that, go to my website, www.reliefroadmap.com, put in your email. Going to be releasing that here very soon. I'll let you know once it's ready, hopefully very soon, so you can get access to everything in the nation. So keep an eye out for that. But you guys, let's go ahead and dive into the latest headlines and video footage. As take a look at this, you guys. Executive order signed yesterday. Biden signs new executive order on abortion rights. Now, they're saying that this is going to be a key element coming up in these midterm elections. However, 80% of people polled say the number one concern of the nation and should be of Congress and the Biden administration is the state of the economy, a recession, stimulus checks, inflation. They're saying deal with the economy, but this is also coming up quite a bit. You're going to see in the video footage. Take a look. Women's health and lives are currently on the line. I'm going to share with you the video footage of him signing, and also, as I mentioned, take a look. This week, we're expecting to hear, before Congress goes on their recess next week, Joe Manchin and Democratic holdout Kyrsten Sinema said that she will do her due diligence and make her own decisions on the Inflation Reduction Act, as they are trying to get this done and pass this, as I mentioned, in this sprint to get everything done before these midterm elections. So I'm going to dive into the video footage, get you caught up as to where things stand. But before we do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, keeping you up to speed on everything going on, just very quickly, smash that like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments. Love to hear your thoughts. Share this out if you think it could help out other people. If this is your first time here and you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me to learn about growing wealth and personal finance, any help right now, I think is good, because right now things are crazy with our economy. So I hope that channel is a blessing to you as well. But with that being said, you guys, let's dive into the video footage. First, let's take a look at President Joe Biden signing this executive order, what it means for the midterm elections, and then let's take a look at what's happening right now with the stimulus reconciliation bill.
Battle over abortion. President Biden signed an executive order on abortion access and called out Kansas for that decisive vote protecting abortion rights.
The voters of Kansas sent a powerful signal that this fall the American people will vote to preserve and protect the right and refuse to let them be ripped away by politicians. And my administration has their back.
Chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega joins us now. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning to you. So President Biden and, frankly, the rest of his party, they are really looking at Kansas, hoping that this is a sign of what's to come in just 96 days when voters head to the ballot box for these midterms. Look, you know this. Kansas is a deeply red state. Voters sent a clear message there to defend abortion rights, even in some of the most conservative-leaning counties. And this was a surprise. This measure was defeated. So Democrats right now, they're really hoping that this issue galvanizes their base, especially when it comes to that coveted vote of suburban women. They're using this as part of this broader messaging campaign to paint Republicans as extremists on social issues. But Republicans, they are clear on this one. They say the midterms are going to end up being about a referendum on the president and the economy. Abortion, really, the reality is, take a look at this, only on the ballot in 4 other states this year. So it really remains to be seen whether this is going to become one of these defining issues that gets voters to the polls. So, President, you mentioned there, he signed that EO yesterday aiming to help low-income women who live in states where the procedure is banned to travel to other states. He is really, George, trying to show that his administration is out front on this one. But frankly, when it comes to this EO, they have offered very few details about how this is actually going to end up working or how, frankly, the government is going to be able to pay for this one.
And Cecilia, the 2020 election lie and how elections will be administered in the future, also on the ballot in November.
Yeah, and with that, George, frankly, that means President Trump is what we're talking about. He is really going to be a spotlight, this issue of the election lie. So look at this, 4 states nominating Republican candidates to roles overseeing elections in those states. They all right now back Trump's efforts to overturn that 2020 race. So we could potentially be talking, George, here about a very serious impact on voting for millions of Americans around this country.
Huge consequences. Cecilia Vega, thanks very much.
So that was signed into law by the president yesterday. And as they mentioned, big component of what's going to be unfolding here in these upcoming elections. And there's a lot on the line. Now, in addition to that, as I mentioned, though, the number one top concern of voters at this time, they're saying 80% polled, is the state of the economy and what's going to be happening with stimulus, recession, the reconciliation bill, inflation, everything having to do economically in our nation. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's unfolding right now. They're going to give us a little update in this video footage.
You need one more Democratic vote. Senator Kyrsten Sinema.
Well, we did have a nice conversation, and we're exchanging papers back and forth to make sure we understand everything and she understands where we're coming from.
Well, one day later, there is revealing new reporting on what Senator Kyrsten Sinema may ask for before signing on to the Democrats' big climate, health care, and tax bill. According to Politico, she wants to nix language narrowing the so-called carried interest loophole. That cutting that provision would axe $14 billion of the bill's $739 billion in projected revenue. It would also hook up the private equity industry. And she would like roughly $5 billion in drought resiliency funding added to the legislation. Back with us to talk about that and much more, California Congresswoman Katie Porter. Congresswoman, this bill is getting a lot of support. Just today, 5 former Treasury secretaries, including Hank Paulson, who served in the Bush administration, they support it. Do you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's a rather cold day in hell when I'm here talking about how much I agree with Hank Paulson, somebody who I had a lot of disagreements with when he was Treasury Secretary. But this bill really does put the pieces together, both on the revenue side and on the spending side, in a way that is very thoughtful and very balanced. It's going to make investments in climate change and energy security and in healthcare. It's going to raise revenue by creating a more fair tax code, and it's going to bring down the deficit. So it is a much more streamlined bill than what we've been talking about in the past, but it's no less important in its scope for our economic future.
Which is why Democrats and Republicans could get behind it. But of course, no Republicans are. So all of this is sitting on Kyrsten Sinema. She is in a hugely powerful position. Yet the one thing she's asking for while she is in the catbird seat is to leave the carried interest loophole alone. Can you help us understand how that would serve anyone in the state of Arizona, a complete hookup for private equity titans? Who in Arizona would care about that?
Well, I can't speak to how many, private equity titans and hedge fund managers they are in Arizona, but the larger point is that Kyrsten Sinema should be putting the needs of the American people first. And that the American people benefit from a fair tax code. And that's really what closing the carried interest loophole is. There's a reason we call it a loophole, because it allows certain kinds of income to pay a tax rate that, as you know, Stephanie, is about half what similar income people have to pay. So it's a capital gains rate instead of an ordinary income rate. And so this is about raising revenue. It's about creating a more fair tax code. And I'm hopeful that Sinema is making some noises here, but that she has not dug in on this because this is absolutely a wrong-headed position. And I had the bill for the last two Congresses to close the carried interest loophole in the House. And it is a tremendously important thing to deliver tax fairness for the American people.
There you have it, you guys. And as you can see, a lot unfolding in Congress right now. Waiting to see what's going to be happening with this reconciliation bill that, as you just heard, is likely going to get modified significantly. And just to clarify, this is not going to be just done and passed. This is just they're going to have this bill finalized. Then it still has to go through the parliamentarian birdbath to make sure that all provisions are clear for reconciliation. It has to get passed in the Senate, passed in the House, and it has to go to the president to be signed into law. So they're trying to get this all finalized now to go through the process to get it done before the midterm elections. And in addition to that, we're hearing that there's an assortment of executive orders. They're going to be following this process as well. We're going to be seeing what happens with wiping out $10,000 of student loan debt first. We're hearing that's going to be the first of many economic executive orders to follow. So I will keep you up to date every step of the way, but as you can see, a lot unfolding right now. As I mentioned, the sprint in the last 90 days before the midterm elections, we're going to be seeing what Democrats do to try to stay in power and what Republicans are going to do so they can take over. And we're hearing about a red wave in the House and the Senate. We will see. I will keep you up to date every step of the way. But you guys, that is the latest. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, take a quick second, smash the like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much. Leave your comments. Share this out if you think it could help out other people. If this is your first time here, it's totally free to come join and stay up to date. Why not? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me? And also, if you haven't already, add your email to that www.reliefroadmap.com website to get access to all the checks in the nation. Working on that so that way you can get anything that's available to you right now. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless.